MTV is an initiative in North America to bring mindfulness to mental health. Welcome to our show, The School of Serenity. We are so happy to be here with you today. I am your host, Kara Kihm. I am the author of Discovering My Wings, a book about the voice of your intuition and how my life radically transformed when I started listening to this voice. I am also a psychotherapist and a Reiki master, and I have a private practice working with women to help empower them to find the voice of their intuition. And I'm thrilled about our guest today. The title of our show is Healing Through Addiction. Please welcome Raj Aggarwal. He is currently the CEO and founder of Provoc, a communications firm which is committed to social, racial, and economic justice and equality. He helps companies move into a place of compassion and empathy. Raj, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm thrilled for you to talk with our audience about your journey of healing through addiction.
Thank you, Kara. It's a joy to be here with you in this lifetime and in this moment.
Yes. And you don't know this. I mean, you do know this, but I know you haven't read my book, but you are not only one of my favorite humans on the planet, but you're also a character in my book. And so I really wanted to have you on the show because when I met you, I was at a real low point in my life and I was steeped in my own addiction. And we had a 10-hour van ride together, and I just got some profound wisdom and profound knowledge from you along the way and our friendship. And so I wanted to read a little bit of that to the audience and then have you share about how you began your journey of healing through addiction, because it's been a very profound one. So you're not privy. I know you haven't read this chapter yet or the book, but here you go. You are in my book and you are the character Ari. And so whether you remember it or not, this was a conversation that we had and that really stuck with me.
I thought I told you to not change my name.
Did
you end up doing that? Yeah, and you still did? Okay.
Only because the lawyer told me I could get sued if I didn't.
Okay, cool. All right.
Not by you, but I was totally willing to have you as
Yeah. Like I said, I got everything that we experience as an open book, so
yes,
I have no issues with that. Yeah.
So if you are ever reading Discovering My Wings, my book, Raj is the character Ari. And in chapter 18, we talk about our 10-hour ride together. We took a 10-hour van ride from Black Rock City, Nevada to Portland. And this is what stuck with me. As Ari, aka Raj, got behind the wheel of Caravan, he shared, I embrace all sides of myself, all of the pain, all of the joy, all of the feelings that arise as they come. This, my friend, is the fullest expression of what it is to be human and live in these bodies. This is why we have come to Earth. As spirits, all we know is joy and peace. We choose to come to Earth for all of the feelings, even the pain. And I'm just horrified by this comment because at this point I'm thinking we should be only happy in my life the way I was taught to be. And I'm at a very low point. And I say, oh, it's so painful, Ari. Sometimes the joy seems so distant. And you say, I know it feels that way now, but on the other side of your pain is tremendous beauty. This pain is what makes the joy so precious. You will discover a different side of yourself through this pain, Kara, a different version of who you are. And when you emerge, you will be transformed. Makes me want to cry. And then I had tears well up in my eye, and I thought to myself, could this pain be what I need to step into the fullest expression of myself? Do you remember any of that?
What do I don't know. What I know is that I think about this particular topic and this thing that came through me at the time. I've been thinking about it a lot recently. So I'm just kind of in this point of reflection of I have these understandings and insights, and then I forget about them, and then I'm returned to them, and I don't really have like a full grasp of my like longitudinal understanding of concepts like this. So I'm kind of struck by how does this work? Obviously, that's what my analytical mind will want to do. Be like, oh yeah, I said this thing to a van in Kara with Kara in 2013, and I remember that the reason I was able to say that at the time is because of the 9 years before that, from the time that I was released from my addiction, to understand like all that life afforded me post that time. And at the time that we spoke, it had probably been about 9 years. And they say it takes about, I forgot, I thought they said that. They say something different. They say it takes about a month for your brain to recover from the time that you're using. So your brain recovers, but then there's a lot more obviously work that has to happen after that. But anyways, that's what I'm just thinking. But I can feel myself in the caravan. I can feel myself, us driving to Portland, and I can feel myself saying it to you without the specific memory. And then I know you so well, and I know what it's like when Kara gets quiet and you're just so touched in such a deep way. And then if we're lucky, tears can flow from that place too, because we've just let it touch in so deeply. So I can imagine the moment. I'm not sure if I remember, because my memory in general is somewhat foggy in different ways. But I can experience that moment, and I'm like, it's just such a good reminder for me where I am now and where I, and just my perceptions and understandings of the world.
Yes. And that was a profound moment for me, because I was so steeped in my pain, and I was so steeped in my addiction, which my love at that time was really alcohol. And to hear you sharing this.
Yeah, Fireball.
Yeah. Oh, Fireball. Yes. Whew, couldn't get enough Fireball. To hear you sharing this with me really was very, very transformative, to take this van ride with you, to learn from you, to develop this friendship. And then later I learned that you had experienced a pretty serious heroin addiction. And so how do you go from deep heroin addiction to thriving as a CEO? And I know that's a very loaded question, but that's a hell of a transformative journey that you've been on there.
I mean, the thing, number one, I don't see myself as like this, like, however you describe me, who I am now. But I understand that often is the perception. And so that's actually a thing I've been exploring, is how does one see oneself in comparison to how other, people that have maybe been doing work in the industry of trying to make the world a better place, and how do they see themselves. But I was also going to say, Kara, about the topic, I just a lot of the insight for me around that topic is around relationship pain. So even my addiction, when I was finally able to give up my addiction, it was because my partner at the time ended our relationship. Right. And so then I fell into both relationship pain, along with some starting to get a semblance of what had happened. And so over the years, I would say that the most pain that I do experience or have is through relationship pain. And so, and I've tried to get myself to the point where I try to remember that when I'm in a specific state, that is offering me insight and wisdom that can help me in other ways, because that state of mind, at least what it is for me, is so unique and is only caused by, or only incited by, that experience. So that's one thing. So, but to answer your question about this journey, I'm sure the journey has been like what I was taught, which is one day at a time.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that one thing that has occurred is having some understanding of being patient, but not being ignorant. And I tried to change my word from being stupid or dumb to actually to being ignorant, right? Pretending that something isn't happening. So,
Yes.
what does it mean to stay in something and doing something, um, not out of habit, not out of fear of loss or anything, but truly because you're like, yeah, like I can see the direction that this is moving, and it's worth it to stay here because of whatever gifts it may come. And about specifically about the work, the work for me is what they call sadhana. Sadhana is spiritual practice. So my hope is that my work is my spiritual practice in the world, but it's often gets confusing with ego, financial reward, and it can and the thought of, oh, I'm doing this because this is what I believe in, or this is how I go about being a bodhisattva in the world, which
Mm,
essentially is a focus on collective liberation. It gets a little confusing, but the point is Ben, like I've just watched how my company and the industry that I'm in has changed over the last 17, 18 years that I've been running my company for 22 years, and I've been clean for about 18 years.
oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, so that's what the thing is like I just try to watch where do I get involved, um and how is the work evolving. So like where there are some folks that are like, oh, this is how we do and this is what we do it, and they just do that same thing. We often try to look at our work through, well, what's next and what else do we need to be doing
Mhm.
to advance our vision of the world, which is a world transformed by equity, beauty, and love. And
Yes.
so we may not be doing the same thing, which is a tough business model because some people
Yeah.
find what they're doing, they do a really good thing, they
Yes.
tighten it up, and then they're like, well, that's just what we're going to do over and over and over again, and people do it. But we are constant. We have to be evolving. I tell sometimes my clients that if the work is done, not only do the stakeholders that we have a responsibility towards are become transformed, but we as individuals in the process of doing the work become transformed ourselves.
Yes.
And that's really powerful work. I'm sure you experience that in your own
Yes.
practice, right? With women, where you're like, oh my God, not only, yeah, you see yourself in them, you have to
Yes.
obviously maintain that boundary. And then at the same time, you're like, wow, because of that person, I'm a completely different person.
It's very, very, very transformative work. It is. It is.
Mhm.
And part of your journey of healing, I imagine your journey of consciousness is very important to you. You're a yoga teacher, you were at some point. You're a yoga instructor certified, and you're very dedicated to
Mhm.
your conscious journey. And so I'm sure that that not only helped you heal through addiction, but you've also brought that into your work.
Yeah, and there's different ways that I can bring that into my work because many people have different paths into how they're going to do it. So it's not really you know, I have had times where I'm like, we're going to meditate at team meetings, or we're going to breathe, or we're going to do different things, or we might support different types of healing work that people might want to do, whether it's like yoga or working out or different things. But I've really become clear that there's a lot of different modalities, and so how do we, create space for that people to bring and do however they want, versus me imposing my specific practice on
Mm,
them. So originally, like our vision was an awakened world, and I have two really good team members, my friends Ellen and Venice, and they really challenged me on this term because that term is so ridden with, um, well, there's wokeness, which is what it was before wokeness was like really becoming a more mainstream term, and also other words around, hi Fair,
We have
around other words around.
structure.
Yeah. I love it. And other words like awaken, which has to do with like, white ideologies towards
Mm,
mindfulness, and even, yeah. So anyways, all these words just can be written with different forms of, culture and society changes these words over time.
yes.
So that's why we went with a world awake, a world transformed by equity, beauty, and love, because what that might look like for you and for Fair might be very different than what it looks like for me. And
Right.
so wouldn't it be nice if it was what Fair wanted and what you wanted and what I wanted versus,
Right.
oh, this conceived notion.
That's powerful. That's very powerful. Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. And it's such important work that you're doing there. And so tell us a little bit how you got there to that mission and to that vision.
Hmm. Sometimes, Kara, it's just an intuitive hit.
Yes,
It,
yes,
it really is. It really is. It's like, oh, like this is the thing.
yes,
This is what we need to be working on.
yes.
And it's so deep in me, and I know I need to be doing it. And sometimes it causes a challenge because we're a communications firm and we're supposed to really be good with words and helping people to articulate certain things. And so much of my work is so heart oriented and so intuitive oriented that I'm not always able to say, oh, this is why, or this is this thing.
Mm,
And so that's been a practice for me, to being able to do it. So yeah, like over the years, it's been very different. You
yeah.
know, I remember, different clients have helped me to see like what's possible. Different, like again, the way the industry changed. So I tell people in 2008, Obama became elected, and every single person all of a sudden thought that they were a strategic communications branding person,
Mm,
and they had worked on the Obama campaign. And
mhm.
my industry became extremely commoditized,
Yeah.
because people saw that there was big money in it through what had happened there. And so at that time, I decided that, um, a few years later, after I just witnessed and saw that happening and saw more and more white companies in particular just benefiting a lot from this industry exploding, I kind of went off and did my own thing for a little bit. And what that means is I instead of like trying to keep up with the Joneses, I'm like, what's the
Yes.
specific thing that we do that's unique and different, and how will that resonate with different audiences? And that led to a number of projects. One project, in fact, that I'm working on 9 years later, which is a big project on Alzheimer's.
Wow.
But yeah. So that's the thing. I think it's if it, like that's if yeah, just finding that path of this is the thing that we do in this way, and it resonates with people. I tell people nowadays, our work is focused on two areas: dismantling structural racism and ending major diseases.
Mm,
And
mm,
a lot of people are talking about equity, doing different things. And our focus with our clients are, if they're not new on the journey and they've been doing it, what they're going to find with us is that there's a shorthand, that we understand each other, that can allow us to move quickly versus them trying to explain maybe certain concepts to us. I wonder if that's the same in certain parts of your practice, right? Like, where are the places where you're like, yeah, I get it. Like, we're right there. We're going to
yes.
keep on moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There's just like a synergy and a resonance and a flow. There's a flow that's there, and I find that with friends. I find that with my healing journey. I found that when writing my book, when there's this synergy and this flow and alignment, it's just a really, I think of that as following the path of the universe, you know, when things are just in their flow and unfolding in the way that they're meant to. And that happens to me with clients.
Yeah.
Like, I think we find and we meet people who we're meant to be in synergy with, and it's just this
Mm-hmm.
very, very natural event that unfolds before us. Yeah.
And, and do clients share that with you as well? Do they
Oh, yeah.
say that they feel that way too?
Yes,
Mm,
absolutely.
beautiful.
And I think that's part of the journey that's been so profound for me is that it is this very mutually beautiful unfolding and experience for both sides. That feels very powerful. Yeah.
Good thing for me to think about it as I work with my therapist and other people that I, do healing work with.
Oh, I mean, I'm very biased, but I do think that your therapy relationship, like who your therapist is one of the most important relationships of your life. I really do. I think it's as important as marriage because it has the profound potential to either further harm and further traumatize or deeply, deeply heal. And so that I've found that that's a really important dynamic that's held very sacred. It's very sacred work.
Well, I've been working with my therapist for 13 or 14 years at this point, so it's quite some time.
Yes. And so how has that sacred work unfolded with you from the healing of addiction? I'd love to know if that is still a struggle and how that path really looks for you from day to day. What was it like to transform and take this other road? Because it sounds like you could have stayed on the road you were on. You already had your company.
Oh, if I stayed on that other path, I would have been dead.
Yeah.
So I very much could have done that. One of the things I've said to many people is, at the time, I had lost most of trust with most of my close friends. And so I was really determined to rebuild that with them. And in various capacities I have, even many years later, in some cases, it not fully, but I have other, really deep relationships with others. And so, but I think one thing you're asking me is like, what was it like? So, one thing that was really important was for me to throw myself into something else. So I really threw myself into my work.
Yes.
And I do feel like that's actually still a challenge. I probably still work more than I need to. And I'm really trying to work on that this year, really trying to shift more and work with my team and get out of the way a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I found myself in a really sweet community where I worked that really helped to, I think, bring me along by putting me into a new community of, say, like-minded entrepreneurs. And I feel that it was basically like I worked in the first co-working space in North America.
Yes.
This.
Yes, I do.
Lab co-founded by one of our dear friends, Charles Plank. And I feel like that was such a sweet landing for me because it was like it had the same feeling of a freshman dorm. I mean, not that, but post-college and people that were all trying to do big things in the world.
Yes.
None of us had any idea what we were doing, but we got to all be together, and it's actually quite profound. The people that went through that experience and were part of that, every single one of them is making a huge impact on the world. I mean, huge.
I believe
and it must have been something about being in a community like that that gave them just the foundation to do what they're doing now. Yeah, it's really remarkable. The people that have graduated from there, I want Charles to actually do a book to talk about the story of like who those people were then and where they are now.
Wow.
And yeah, in modern day capitalistic and societal norms on success, these people are beyond successful. But I feel like that really did it. And I think that there's also, early on, Kara, I got introduced to somebody also through Charles, a person, my dear friend Jasmine, who introduced me to Ram Dass. And that experience in learning about Ram Dass and then Krishna Das and that entire lineage of teaching from Maharaji, or also known as Neem Karoli Baba, has been a guiding light for me for the 15, 16 years that I've been on that path. So I became really awakened spiritually through that. Like, I'm just like thinking about this. Sorry. I'm like, yeah. So that has just been, it's just been like the best way to describe it's just been so helpful.
Yeah. I do think a faith, a spiritual practice, something to really connect with beyond ourselves, for me, is a very important part of my becoming and my not staying stuck in addiction.
And what do you do, Kara?
Well, I have a variety of methods. I'm always throwing myself into meditations and practices of prayer. Prayer is very, very important to me. Meditating is very important. I try to go for walks and be very intentional. Notice just the branches of the trees with no leaves on them and like sink into the vibrations of nature. It's really profound to walk in the woods in the winter and just to look at all the details of things that we can't see when everything's budding and thriving. Things look different in the winter. And I try to just tune in and tap into the energies of the forest and spend time in nature, being present. I guess presence is what I'm doing, but accessing these other layers of being in nature, not just taking a walk, but being very intentional with noticing the details of things when I'm on the walk. Yeah. Trying to be very
I've been loving being out here in Wisconsin in the cold and in the woods near a lake. And it makes me very happy. But yeah, like the everything is revealed in the winter.
Yes, it is. It is. And I used to dread the winter. I mean, I used to get very, very depressed and have a bit of seasonal affective disorder. And now I love it. I really love it. I look forward to the inward time. I look forward to the naked trees. I look forward to being cozy. I try to be really present with my daughter. I mean, here we are, we're in the middle of this interview and she just pops in and I'm like, okay, we're rolling with this. We're just rolling with it.
It's nice to see her. She's so grown up.
She's so grown up. She's going to be 7 this year.
7. I can't even deal with it, Kara. Wow.
I know. And so I find that my daughter, Fair, and my work and being very intentional with those parts of my life are how I stay focused and present and out of active, addiction or distraction and alcohol. I mean, alcohol, partying, it's all just a distraction, right? And the more present I can be and the more in the moment I can be, the less I have the need to be somewhere else and to be distracted.
Yeah.
And it's hard when we're in pain. It's hard. Who doesn't want to be distracted from pain? And that's what was so profound about meeting you, is that the pain is the path. The pain is the part of the transformation. We can't transform without the pain. We have to have something to incite a different path, a new action, right?
That's what I've seen.
Yeah.
I would love for other ways that provide that as well too. But that has been quite a teacher.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I would love for there to be other ways too. And what you told me, and I'll never forget, we come to Earth for all of it. I mean, for all of it. You said the joy and the pain. I mean, and you even went on to say, you know, in spirit world, like we just know joy. And so part of this human experience is very real pain. I mean, that is part of what we sign up for when we come to this form of consciousness, you know. And
It's really hard to sit in pain.
It's so hard. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's so, so hard. And it's a practice, you know. One thing I do is I listen to Tara Brach all the time, all the time. I love her. And she says, meet your edges and soften, you know. Can you go to the edge of the pain and be with it? And as you're with it, the edges soften. I mean, they do, softening those edges of the pain. So they're a little bit more round instead of a sharp spike, you know. But I think being with our pain is the practice, you know. Do you have a practice for being with your pain?
You know, I've for many years I've been really working on a breathwork practice, and I think it's just like really, it's presence through breathing. I have a really good friend. Her name's Stacy. She talks about sometimes you just need a floor day, and I said, "What's a floor day?" She's like she'll just lay down in her kitchen.
Yeah.
And just be in that, like, it's not a place where you're supposed to lie down, I guess. And she just lies there, you know, and you just have cathartic moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I have breakdown days. Well, I call them meltdown days. And I just spend a day melting down. And I used to be very upset by this. And I would tell my therapist, and she said, I think it's the fastest way to release emotion and move on. Give yourself a meltdown day, you know? And in mental health, I actually worked for a company doing mental health work where you did get sort of respite days or mental health days. I think we all need those. I don't think we need sick days. I think we need mental health days. We need both. You know, we need meltdown days.
Yeah, my friend at another company, she goes, "Yeah, I just made a requirement for everybody on my team to have mental health days that are required to have one mental health day a month. That has nothing to do with not feeling well.
Yes.
It's why not have a day off when you feel good."
Oh, so don't wait for the breakdown day. Do it while while you can enjoy it and not be laid out on the floor.
And so I was like, oh, how can I plan for, oh yeah, I'm just going to take a day off and that's it. And it's required by my company that I do that. I'm like trying to figure out how we can do that too.
I love that. So maybe we need 2 mental health days a month, one for meltdown day, lay out on the floor, and one for joy, you know, and joy. Cece and I did an interview like this and I get so nervous. And she's like, well, let's just make it fun. Where's our joy in life? You know? So a mental health day to access joy. I love that idea. I love that. And we also need the meltdown days too. My friend posted on Facebook the other day, nothing's okay and you're not doing it right. And that's okay. You know, that's okay. Like sometimes this is just where we are. Nothing's okay and we're not doing it right.
I spend very little time on social media.
Yeah.
As much as I used to. I've had various experiences with it over time. But yes, the good parts of it are when people share these nuggets or, you learn about something new or that you didn't before. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think it's just important to be honest about these things, to not try and pretend, to be honest about the pain and honest about where we are and seek support, take moments of presence, take meltdown days and try and find the joy. I've been trying to find the joy in just the smallest moments. You know, every day I'm realizing there is a moment of joy, even if it's a meltdown day, you know?
Yeah. I think, I think that I try to, in my work, and so much of my work is around racial equity. It's really, I would say, humbling work.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people that in most people in my field, we're supposed to know everything. And actually, we have to try to come from a place of not knowing and curiosity more than anything. So it takes a lot of deep breathing sometimes to be in that experience, knowing that you think that you're supposed to know the answer, but you're not. You're just there to listen and see what's emergent.
Yes.
And so people that are in leadership positions, I don't think they often afford themselves that at all.
Yes. 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 Absolutely. I can see that. And the pressure that comes with that, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I, somebody was joking around when I ended up, this is when I met you. I had sold everything I own and moved into a van. And
Mhm.
my best friends was like, this is your tagline as the therapist. I'm homeless. I'm divorced. I'm unemployed. I don't know what I'm doing, and we can figure it out together. It's like, here's the therapist, like just in total disarray, right? You know, like we can figure it out together. And it's like, you know what? Like sometimes,
That actually is the best tagline. I
yeah,
mean, if a person hasn't been through shit, but that's the thing, we're drawn to oh my God, that person that has all their shit together. You're like, no,
yeah,
yeah, it's not real.
it's not real. Right, right. It's not real. Yeah. Yes. And that's why I love your story because I know you don't see yourself that way, but you are thriving as a CEO and you came from this background where you really were not thriving. You know, you were suffering and you were in deep pain. And so to me, to be able to walk that path, and I know life, that's what I want people to know. Life is still hard, even when we're thriving and not deep in addiction. It doesn't mean life is easier. It just means we've found other
Mm.
avenues and coping strategies.
Yeah, Kara, I don't know if I told you this, but I think one of the first times I got interviewed about my addiction was 2015. It was on the night of my birthday, and this person came and interviewed me, and we spoke for 50 minutes, and she whittled it down to 7 minutes somehow, and
Wow.
I felt so. I didn't realize how good I would feel from telling this story because I had there was often shame around addiction, and the experience that I had had, and the minute that I was so public about it, it released me so much from so much shame. And so
Mhm.
I say that also again. And then what I did was I made it really public, right? Like it was
Yes.
on NPR, it was local, it played a bunch of times, and it went national. And anyways, I got so many messages from people. But the point is that, and I got random people too. And I don't want to say random, but people I didn't know firsthand.
Right.
But I found that experience released me so much, and then I went to an event about a few months later, and they were doing this. They call them courageous conversations, and so the person
Mm.
who's now my fiance, she interviewed me at the time with 15 minutes heads up, and I found that even the experience that I had there, where they asked me about all these questions about addiction, I'm in front of 100 of my peers, clients, people that run other companies similar to mine, people that are in doing this work. And my friend told me that there wasn't a dry eye in the house.
Yeah.
And I think that was, I have been really trying to practice vulnerability in this way, but not, we're sharing these things, including the I don't know, um, to because I feel that that's when you open up, the whole world opens up with you. A
Yes.
friend of mine wants me to write a book about this thing, but the reason I just mentioned all that is just goes back to this idea of people think that need to know, people think that you need to be perfect, and I think it's just I just don't think that it will get us where we need to be.
Oh gosh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I love that you took the risk of going public, and being vulnerable, because that is just so authentic. And that is where these deeper relationships and deeper truths really, really lie, and one day when you read my book,
Mm-hmm.
I am very, very just open and vulnerable about how messy my journey was. It was so messy, Raj. You were there for much of it. It was messy. And I think that's important. That's an important truth.
What in hindsight, when you say it was messy, how much of it do you actually believe, like the things that you thought about and worried about were messy, or was it your response to them and what they brought up in you? Do you
Oh,
get what I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Yeah.
The
Mm.
response. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I like that distinction. Definitely the response. Absolutely. And I think what's important for me is for my clients to know that this journey of transformation, this journey of healing addiction, this journey of consciousness is messy. It is not a pretty one. And it is courageous. It's bold, it's brave, it's messy, it's painful. It's all the things, And like you shared, that's why we're here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what would it be like yeah. I don't I don't know if I would change anything from that,
Yeah.
because I don't feel like then the outcome just wouldn't be what it is today, and I wouldn't be who I am today. So
Yes.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you can't break any part of the past and think that you'd still have like some of the things that you have today.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's possible.
I agree. I agree. I absolutely agree. I agree. And that's what you were telling me in that van ride. That's
Mm.
what you were really saying to me. I wanna just reinforce that again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know it feels that way now, but on the other side of your pain is tremendous beauty. This pain is what makes the joy so precious. You will discover a different side of yourself, a different version of who you are. I mean, that is, when I met you, I couldn't see that. And that is the truest thing I've heard, now. At the time, I'm like, sounds nice. Sounds great, Raj, but kind of
You're like, but
sure.
yeah, exactly. It sucks right now. My whole life is in shambles. So these words are true for you today?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my life is still very, very messy. I would say that, I mean, my only sibling, my brother, passed away as of, past couple years. And then I was dating somebody this past year who passed away. And I
I
mean,
didn't know that, Kara.
I
Did we
didn't know
talk about that? Yeah.
I didn't know
We
you were.
might have talked about this.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot we've got
Yeah.
on here.
Yeah.
But I just found that out as the show was starting. But
Mm-hmm.
what I will say is the pain isn't any less. My response to the pain is different. I don't reach to like have the alcoholic beverage to make me feel better right away. And I still am experiencing joy, and I'm still thriving, even though it sucks. That's what I will say. The words are true because there's been such a journey of transformation that now when the pain comes, I'm a different person when I'm navigating it. Do you find that to be true?
I believe so. I think that there's this it's not me fully, but there's this Buddhist story or something, and this guy is working with some, with his teacher, and or maybe I don't know, it might have even been Bruce Lee, but basically the person says, well, how come when this happens, how come nothing happens to you? He goes, no, or maybe it was them or she. They're like, I just recover faster. That's
Yes.
what's different. You still feel it. All of it happens. It's just how quickly you recover.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I was in a car ride with my partner yesterday, and something came up, and she said something, and I was like, and I got upset, and she goes, "Why did you just get up? Like what?" And I was like, "Oh, you're right," and I just cut it off, and then I was just so touched at how she approached that versus making me wrong. She just brought it up in a really compassionate way, and it allowed for, and maybe the practice has allowed for quick self-reflection and understanding, and then moving on.
Yeah.
Versus being stuck.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Which is really, really powerful. Really powerful. And that's why we do the work. And that's why we heal, and that's why we transform, and that's why we go into recovery, and that's why we do all of this, because that's on the other side. And that's what you were telling me. I couldn't see it then, but that's what you were telling me. And today it's just so true. And what you were also telling me that is so true is that the joy is so much sweeter. When you've been through incredible amounts of pain, it makes me want to cry. Those moments of joy are just really, really so cherished. They're so cherished.
And you're saying that from a place of when you're in potentially a place of pain and you have that moment of joy.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's such a good reminder, right? Because you're
Yeah.
like, because you might be like, oh, there's nothing working out for
Yes.
me, and then you get a little hint of like, oh, it's actually still in there. It's just hard to access at this time.
Yeah. It's there.
It's like it's being sent a lifeline.
Yes, it is. It is. It's there. The moments of joy are always there, even in the profound, devastating pain. And your higher power, your consciousness, the universe, God, the Lord, whatever that may be, that is always there too. I've found. And those moments of that connection and those moments of that joy is just so sweet for me when I'm in the depths of trauma and pain.
Kara, so much loss. I'm so sorry again for the loss of your brother. My partner lost her brother a little bit over a year ago as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for you to hear that this person that you were dating passed away as well.
Yeah, it's been a wild 2 years. For everyone globally, we all have our own versions of that, right? And I don't want to say I'm grateful for the journey, but I'm grateful for the healing, and I'm grateful for the moments of connection with source and the moments of joy. And I have found moments of gratitude in the harshness of it all, And so I think many of us have been through our own versions of that, right?
Without a doubt, I've lost almost 6 family members to COVID.
Wow.
So that's it's been really tough. I went to India right before COVID spread globally, and it had been my first time in 10 years.
Wow.
And yeah, many of the 5 or 6 of the people that I saw at the time, I will never see again.
Wow.
Including my cousin, who was separately, not from COVID. He passed away from something else that I'm not actually clear about, and it's really sad to know that I'll never see him again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my heart goes out to you as well, you know.
Thank you, Kara.
So this is our pain is truly what unites us, and it's what allows compassion in the human experience, knowing that we all have our own versions. And you just made me think of something. I actually, in my book, have a scene of watching temple burn, and you know that's a time when people are releasing pain for people who go to Burning Man. And during that time, I was reminded of the story. I'm going to botch it, but it's the woman and the mustard. No, the mustard seed is the Bible, and then this one is with the Buddha. There are our own versions, but the story I was reminded of is how a woman lost her son, and she went to go find the Buddha, and she said, "Can you bring back my son?" This is just the Cliff Notes version. Please don't. You know the story, and
no, tell me the story.
And he said, "I can, if you go into the village and you find someone who has not experienced pain." And so she knocked on every door. She ran to everyone's home. She tried to find this person who had not been through their own version of this suffering, this pain she was experiencing. And ultimately, she returns to the Buddha. And what she realizes is that she's no different from everyone else. We all go through that, you know, that this was just her version in her time. So our pain is really uniting in that way, you know. And I was having this profound moment of realizing that as I was sitting with 80,000 people in silence. I remembered that story, and I remembered just how the pain can be very uniting. So, yeah. So let us be united through our pain, and my heart goes out to you for your loss too.
Thank you, Kara.
Is there a flute?
No, that's a washing machine.
Oh, I was like, as somebody serenading the end of the show.
No, that would be so nice, though.
I was like,
you can make it a serenade. You can make it joy, whatever we want it to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you, Raj. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing about your journey and your path. Thank you for always being so authentic and vulnerable and open-hearted. When I think of you, I think of open-heartedness, and I'm grateful for your time today.
Thank you, Kara.
Yeah. All right.
It's a joy.
Yes, many blessings to all of our viewers, and look for the moments of pain. I mean, the moments of joy and the pain. You're going to find the pain. It's going to find you. You don't have to look for that.
And when you're there, sit in it. Be in it. It will not destroy you.
It will not destroy you. Sit in it. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful reminder. Thank you, Raj. Many blessings to all of you.
Bye, Kara.